Hello, welcome back to another Onkruid video. Unedited Soulstone Survivors little run action. The Scorching Valley, the first map, we're playing with the upgraded Spellbreaker and his Scimitar. And we are just headed for the corner straight again. Not that we necessarily want a speedrun attempt with this character, but I still like hanging around in the corner because I want these runs to be quick and smooth, over easily. And I want them to be just a nice short little video experience on the Onkruid channel, you know? A short little insight into the madness of my brain while I ramble on. And it doesn't have to be too long, because otherwise, I mean, I will possibly derange some humans out there because of the insane capacities that this brain has of producing ramble things. Well, yeah, sure, Leviathan. We'll go for some raw damage. How are you guys doing? Me personally, I've been doing a-okay. Had the job interview yesterday I talked about in the last unedited video. It went well, but it was quite adventurous. I've got quite the anecdote to tell you, and it involves almost getting a steel beam right up my asshole. My bike, my trusty iron steed, which I use to traverse myself throughout these Leuven landscapes because I don't have a driver's license yet, and even if I would have, I wouldn't like to drive around in Leuven probably, because I mean, a whole bunch of the streets are one-way streets and there's bikers everywhere around you, so you need to pay constant attention all the time. It would be a very stressful experience. Either way, my trusty iron steed was not so trusty after all yesterday. I was like 10 meters from my home and the saddle broke off. It just completely broke clean off. And not while I went over a bump or like something like that. No, just it in the middle of the street. In the middle of a house, in the middle of the street even, it just broke off completely. Now, small disclaimer, it was already a little bit broken for a while. It gets held in place by let's go for a Doom build, by 2 screws, and one of the screws was already broken off earlier, so I should have kind of seen it coming, I guess, if you really want to be a stickler, if you really want to be correct and you want everything in the world to be right and just. I should have seen it coming. Because my saddle was already like the area modifier, damage modifier. Give me the area modifier, please. It was already able to spin around about 360 degrees, and that's definitely not something a bike saddle is supposed to do. So I should have gotten it fixed quicker. But I thought, yeah, no, you know, if I'm just careful, I can still ride around with this, and that's a great life lesson. Don't be like me. Don't be like that at all. You have to kind of fix things as soon as they come up. That's always going to be the best approach, even if you feel like, well, I can still do this or still do that. No, because it's just a short fix, right? All you need to do is bring your bike in, pick it up after a while again, probably pay 2 kidneys and an extra $300, but on top of that, it's just going to be fine. That's going to be everything. But yeah, that meant that I had to critical chance, powerful strikes, area, powerful strikes. That meant that I had to spend half the way to my job interview walking there, and the other half the other half I had to spend biking while standing up, which looks kind of ridiculous. But in the end, I got there just in time. I literally entered the building at exactly 4 o'clock. Multicast ground slam. Exactly 4 o'clock, which is exactly the time my job interview was supposed to start. And then the girl from the reception, or the woman from the reception, she was on the older side, was like, yeah, well, the person you're trying to see is still in conversation, so you'll have to wait for a second. And I was like, bitch, I've been kind of dying over here, getting over here. I have really put in a lot of effort into getting here on time. I even missed an exit once, so I had to circle back for a while, all while cycling standing up. I was drenched in sweat. That girl probably thought I just came from running my 2nd marathon of the day. And she's just like, yeah, just wait over here for a second, she'll be right with you. In the end, it was fine though. I mean, of course, schedules and stuff are hard to keep, especially in our line of work, in the mental health care of work, because so often does something come up where you have to stay with the client a bit longer, or you have a bit more administrative work to do. All of those things happen a whole bunch of the time. So I didn't hold her accountable for that at all. I didn't mind. And it was a very, very pleasant conversation. It really was a conversation. It was not like an interview all that much. It wasn't like she was talking a lot, I was talking a lot. No, we were really in dialogue. And I read on the website beforehand that they are like, well, We try to create a homely environment that is very, very, what should I say, accessible and just very cozy and stuff. And I thought they meant for the clients, but no, they mean it for the people that work there as well. That's something that I definitely picked up on quickly yesterday. The job interview was just like in a sofa in her office, so it was very, very, very calm, very pleasant. Made you feel at home immediately and to help to calm the senses as well a bit. Or the stress. Not that I was really that stressful, as I talked about in the last unedited episode. I don't really mind job interviews all that much. And I know it went well, and they are probably gonna offer me a position where I start as multicast, where I start as like a kind of an intern to learn the ropes a bit, and then I start actually working there and get paid in full. And I kind of like that, especially because, and this is where the caveat comes in, this is where the little cave comes in, where the thing comes in that you need to pay attention for. It is a lot of work with children. The focus really heavily lies on working with children, and that's what I was afraid of. And it is kind of, it's kind of a bummer. I'm really not sure whether I actually want to work with children. With young people and young adults, definitely sign me up. People from like the high school age and onwards, I would love to work with those people. With actual young children and working with them and their families, I don't know. I have to think about it. They're probably gonna call me on Tuesday. It's Saturday right now. They're probably gonna call me on Tuesday, and I still have a lot of thinking to do on whether I actually want to do that or not. But I mean, that's the only thing that didn't quite strike my fancy about their entire working, you know? Just that part of their population that they were focusing their work on. And all the other parts I really seem to enjoy. One of the things that really stood out for me, for example, was like I asked the question, hey, I saw on the website that there is a whole bunch of people actually working here, but it seems like you all only have so many rooms. You don't have a lot of rooms. How do you do that? Because I mean, private space is needed for our job most of the time, right? And she was like, well, yeah, but how we solve that is we sit outside most of the time, or we go for a walk in the forest with our clients. And I was like, yeah, that's it. This is where I possibly want to work. And it's very close to home. It's a very calm environment where it's situated. The building is situated itself as well, so that's also a big plus. It's a big benefit as well. So, I mean, just the work with kids is something that I am doubtful about. But it is an important factor, of course, because I mean, it is the population you are working with. It is the clients you will receive in front of you. So, I need to think about it. I need to think about it long and hard. All in all, I am just satisfied that the job interview went well and that I was finally able to go on a job interview actually, just to get some practice on that front in there, because I have already only been on a job interview so far in this place then, and then like 2 months before that at the place where I actually did my internship last year. And those conversations also went really well, so I kind of had one example of how it would go and how I can make sure that I come over as a competent and self-confident professional. But now to have it in like an unknown context with people that I really do not know, and as opposed to at my internship, because there of course I did know the people already and the context. Now it was really like a completely new environment, and it still went well. I was still very satisfied with how it actually turned out, the conversation. So it was either way nice practice for future job interviews. And it's another big beneficial point. They asked me to join their team as kind of an intern for a couple of weeks. And, well, that means that in those couple of weeks or months, I can still look for another job if I would want to. So it's not a direct commitment, you know. She already told me also about some of the other people working there that were like, all right, so I have done this 2 months now, but I realized that it is not what I want to do in the end, so I quit. Or people that have 2 amazing months, they come almost every day like normal working people would, and they really enjoyed themselves, and they're just allowed to start as an independent worker. Independent, but kind of underneath their wing, kind of shielded by their wing, you know. They're still part of their organization, but they work on an independent basis. All food for thought, all very interesting, but I do need a job, you know. I'm gonna need to start bringing the bills in, because otherwise I think this beautiful little apartment here is not gonna be ours forever. I love my parents, of course, and they are very, very, very nice people for supporting us all this way. They told me that, like, hey, you have a year to find a job, we will support you throughout that period. But I feel kind of bad for them as well, you know, because they have paid for so much already in my life, especially now in these college years. They have already paid for a student accommodation for the past 5 years. They pay for a whole lot of my food while I'm here. When I go home again in the weekends, when I go to their house, they pay for a lot of things as well. They pay for a bunch of my hobbies, for books and stuff, all of those great things. So I don't want to keep relying on them, you know. I want to be financially independent at some stage, and it definitely has to come up that stage, like at the age I am right now. I am 23, almost 24. Am I 23? Yeah, I'm 23, that's for sure. I can never remember my own age. It's kind of a curse. At least I'm glad that that's always in my information that I provide before the job application already, so they don't have to ask me at the moment and I have to sit there like, in like the mid-20s, early 20s range, that's my age, I think. People will probably get really worried if somebody can't even tell them their own age. Just a little quirk I have. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. All my little imperfections make me perfect, you know? Either way, I would love to get in there in the job market, you know, start making my own money. But, and this is a discussion I had with a buddy of mine also, it would mean that this YouTube journey would come to a bit of a halt at the start first, probably, because the transitioning from looking for a job into an actual job and those hours is probably gonna be very tiring at the start. We're also just dealing no damage, by the way, because our skeleton archers are always dying after a second. And additionally, of course, well, if I then come home from work late in the evening and I still have to cook dinner, spend some time with my girlfriend and stuff, listen to how her day has gone, there's not gonna be that much time to record left at all. If I also still want to keep up my habits of going bowling, going quizzing, going to my parental house sometimes. Also, however, that will probably diminish once I actually start my job. I will stay here more often in the weekends, but either way, I will have just less and less time. And it's something I'm gonna have to take into account, that's for sure. It's something we all will have to work out together, because I definitely want to keep making videos, but maybe I will just have to dial down the schedule a little bit. I have been doing quite well at keeping up the daily video habit for a while now, and now in the combination with the second video in each day, the unedited video, even some videos on Saturday sometimes, I mean, I've been doing great, I've been doing good, I've been doing fantastic, and I've been enjoying the journey. It kind of feels like a job already, even though I am not investing nearly enough hours into it for it to actually be a job. If I would actually want to turn YouTube into a job, it would be a full-time job. So that would be at least 7 hours a day, probably a bit more. And I would love it. I would absolutely love it, man. But it's not possible. I have to be realistic with myself. It's not going to be possible unless I have some big break where someone really, really likes the Soulstone Survivors content, shares this to his entire group of friends, and they watch every single video that I put out in this game, because I put out a lot of videos in this game so far. Either way, it's not necessarily, it's not necessary. It's just not necessary. I am enjoying it the way it is, and some things will never change. But I'm just having fun, having a blast, and it doesn't have to make me money for now. It's always going to be a nice bonus if it could make me money in the future, but having it turn into an actual job, I don't think that's feasible in the near future. 11 minutes, not the fastest run, but this character is not a speedrun character at all. Thanks a lot for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.